Welcome back to the channel. I'm Gabriel, and in this episode we're back in Uppsala. And if you haven't seen my first video about 3 interesting things to see in Uppsala, there's a link to it in the description below. We'll carry on from the first episode, and this time we'll have a look at the anatomical theatre, the first botanical garden, and a classic café. So, without further ado, here's 3 interesting things to see in Uppsala, part 2. You might have heard about Uppsala University. Behind me is its oldest building, where lectures have been held since 1625. Today it's a museum with some very exotic collections, and we're about to go inside. But before we do, observe the tower on the rooftop. This is the work of one of Sweden's most brilliant and imaginative men of science, Professor Olof Rudbeck. He was dedicated to several wildly different disciplines, such as botany, engineering, music, and anatomy, and his contributions are invaluable, for the most part. You might regard him as a Swedish answer to Leonardo da Vinci. All right, let's go inside. As I said, Olof Rudbeck broke new ground in many different areas, and at 23 years of age made what is considered Sweden's first major scientific discovery, that of the lymphatic system. At this time, in the mid-1600s, the university was expanding and science was on the rise. Medicine had become a new field of study, and there was a need for new teaching spaces and methods. Therefore, in 1662, with inspiration from continental Europe, building began of a specially designed hall for hands-on anatomical studies, a theatrum anatomicum, designed by Olof Rudbeck himself. In the spirit of the Enlightenment, which emphasizes learning by reasoning and using the senses, the theatre needed to be inclusive and well illuminated. To this end, the panoramic windows provide ample daylight, and thanks to the steep inclination of the tiers, everyone present can participate with an unhindered view. This signified a new way of teaching, away from traditional lecturing, where the students could see for themselves. And now, here's a live reenactment of the very first dissection that, according to the records, attracted 3 people. In the end, it was only used a handful of times, but still today stands out as a symbol of empirical research and, quite literally, thinking outside the box. Studying is big in Uppsala, but so is going to cafés. And there are a few of them that count as classics, having served their customers for well over 100 years. And this is one of them, Güntherska Konditoriet. Let's check it out. This confectionery opened for business in 1887 under the title of Dam Café, meaning an establishment that was equally convenient for both ladies and gentlemen. Since then, people of Uppsala have enjoyed cinnamon buns, coffee and tea in these rooms. History is in the walls and on them. Framed certificates show that the quality was good enough for 2 Swedish regents. With my coffee, I've ordered a semla, the traditional pastry of Shrove Tuesday. And here is how it's made. It all starts with a cardamom-spiced wheat bun, and the name semla traces back to the Latin word for white flour, simila. After the top is cut off, the base is filled with almond paste and then topped with whipped cream without sugar. The cut-off top serves as a lid and is dusted with powdered sugar. Consumption is seasonal, from January to Easter, peaking on Shrove Tuesday, a day on which Swedes eat a considerable amount of semla. This bakery alone produces around 8,000 on this single day. There you have it. In Uppsala, you'll have a great café experience, and if they're in season, I highly recommend that you try a semla, the most delicious pastry in Sweden, but also the world, according to several people. Our third item in this video is the Linnaeus Garden. Conceived and created by the very same Olof Rudbeck and perfected, if you will, by Linnaeus. It's Sweden's oldest botanical garden and has a few peculiarities that are reminiscent of the 18th century. It's a scientific garden designed for visual elegance. After all, this was a time when beauty and knowledge went hand in hand. Linnaeus bought this replica of Venus de Medici and, possibly to attract attention to the garden, placed it in plain view of bypasses. Fortunately, at this time, the public exposure of an undressed female figure was not controversial at all. Actually, it was controversial. Turns out the citizens of Uppsala were not quite ready for such a public display of inanimate nudity. Little did they know what was to come some 200 years later. Here you'll also find the house where Linnaeus resided and gave lectures to his students. Items belonging to the household tell interesting tales. To learn more about them, you'll have to come for yourself. Maybe I'll see you there. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and why not leave a comment. And I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.